This is The Gala Show. I'm your reporter on the beat, Gala Avery. On this episode, you may know my guest as an award-winning music video director who has worked with influential acts such as TV on the Radio, Gnarls Barkley, Yeah Yeah Yeahs, and Rihanna, the creative director of the immersive installation An Encounter with Lux Prima at the Gagosian Marciano in Los Angeles, or as the filmmaker behind the feature-length documentary titled Shot, the psycho-spiritual mantra of rock, all about the photographer that shaped our modern zeitgeist, Mick Rock. But here on The Gala Show, I know my guest as the director of The Seating, Barnaby Clay. Hi, Barnaby.
Hi, Gala.
How are you?
I'm good. Happy to be here in my office.
In your office.
Yeah.
I am too. Which, by the way, has amazing posters, which we've already established are some of which are from Dave from Exotic Originals.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure elsewhere. He has an amazing The Devil's poster, you guys. I'm so jealous of it. And he has a little VHS collection over in the corner.
I do, yeah. So. That's like a small... Basically, I had a huge collection, and when I left England, I sadly had to get rid of most of them, and also a giant Laserdisc collection.
Oh, I love Laserdisc.
Yeah, and they all, and of course, I got rid of them at the time when everything was like worthless, and so I kind of just gave them all away. But what you're seeing there is mainly from the Warner Home Archive, which just like for some reason when we were collecting videos when we were a kid, like those were like the really in England, like the ones that we went for, you know, those were the really exciting finds when you'd see like those particular ones. But also in there are some which are like, I don't know. I grew up in the video nasty era.
Oh yeah, the video nasty.
And
yeah.
So some of those are like.
Well, like Motel Hell. Is that a video nasty?
No, I don't think that is.
That's
but
so
I think
funny. I thought about
I Drink Your Blood, Zombie Holocaust.
Of course.
AKA Zombie Flesh Eaters.
Oh, and Evil Dead 2. The only movie scarier than Evil Dead is Evil Dead 2. That's the tagline here in America. I'm not sure if that was the same tagline in the UK.
Which is so unscary, which is funny. But yeah, and just some of them are like just great movies. Like, you know, I can see Being There, Network.
I love that movie.
Day for Night.
And of course he has Busting, which we covered on Video Archives.
I have Busting, yeah,
Busting.
Exactly. It's a kind of random collection there.
I like it.
My Name is Nobody. Like, just like it's got a lot of interesting titles, but those are my little cherries. That's what's left of kind of like a certain part of my youth.
Of the collection.
Yeah.
So before we bring up the topic for today, I have a question for you. How did becoming a father change you as a creative?
I think two ways. I mean, just on a fundamental level, becoming a father, becoming a parent. Mm-hmm. Is just like, and this is kind of really boring, but at the same time, it's just so true, and there's no avoiding it, is that just time management. You just you realize that you just like, you have so many hours in the day. If you're going to like write a movie, you got to find those hours and you got to stick to those hours, and you can't just like, there's no like, okay, I'll see you like, you know, a few hours later, unless you've got like amazing childcare or you've got like, your wife or partner or whatever is like willing to just sit there and do all the work. You've got to like, you got to work those hours. You got those 5 hours. You got to get busy
and sleep. I'm sure,
and
also,
sleep
like,
as well. Yeah, I mean, you know, he's 8, so it's like less about that. But then, on a I guess a more, let's say, existential level, I've spoken about this a few times in relation to my movie. Like my movie was kind of. The Seating was partially inspired by my wife's pregnancy and the idea of this child coming to my life, basically. And not just because it's not like some weird Rosemary's Baby situation, but more just on a level of like, I think when these things happen to you, i.e. like you have kids for the first time or you lose somebody very important in your life, you go through death. Like when I lost my father, for example, like really like big, huge, the biggest deals in life. When you go through that, you just go, during that period, you kind of go into a bit of a heightened state and you start thinking about kind of things on a pretty large...
global level?
Yeah,
universal level.
Yeah, you do. And it's really interesting. And you think about what's really important and what isn't and all these kind of things. And I think that definitely seeped into the writing process when I was writing the seeding, you know. So certainly it helped there. It just opened my eyes on that level. And then, but other than that, I don't know. Enjoy life, enjoy your work. Like, you know, makes me very grateful that I'm able to do something that I love doing, you know, and I hope that my son has the same situation. He finds something like that.
That he just loves his passion.
Yeah, I was really lucky because my parents were both actors, you know, so I kind of like grew up in that situation like you did with your father, just like you're just kind of, it was like there around you.
Yeah, you can't escape it.
No, you
That's
can't.
the thing when
you
people
can't.
ask me why do you do what you do? And it's like, well, it's kind of just like in my blood.
Yeah,
I grew up with it
Yeah,
everywhere.
absolutely.
I grew up on set. I grew up on Rules of Attraction. Jay Baruchel, I have photos of him like with me over his shoulder, like running around with me. I think my photo, we have like fake family photos with Eric Stoltz.
Yeah.
Like my mom, my brother, and I are his fake family in the movie.
Yeah, nice.
And then we also have our real family photo from that day. Like my dad stepped in
That's
instead.
amazing.
So it's like it's just interwoven.
Yeah. I remember, like, I think one of the, like, a great moment, but also a really, like, sad moment in my youth was my dad taking me. He didn't work on it, but, like, I think one of his, like, actor friends was in Doctor Who. He had a major role in Doctor Who. And he took me to see the TARDIS. And it was just like, it was one of those moments where I was really young and there was the TARDIS, this telephone box, and I walked in expecting to walk into the TARDIS, and I walked into a telephone box with a black drape at the back, and I was just like, this is it. And in that moment, my whole like idea of everything just changed. I was just like, you know, yeah.
It's when you realize like it was make believe.
Yes.
Yeah. I've had when I was on the set of Silent Hill as a kid, when I learned that Pyramid Head was a ballerina.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I'm not that scared anymore.
Exactly.
I learned.
Yeah.
Now, as always, my guest gets to bring their topic to the mic. Barnaby, why don't you tell us what your topic is and why you decided to choose it?
Okay. So obviously, I mean, two of the most important things in my life are film, obviously. And then the other big thing for me growing up was growing up with a autistic brother who's 8 years older than me. And he, you know, there's just no, I have a sister as well who's 7 years older than me. But like when you grow up in that family dynamic, there is just no escaping how that's going to shape you as a person and change the way your outlook on life and your view on everything. And I kind of wanted to talk about Laurence. That's my brother. You know, he's an artist and he's really interesting, but you know, he lives in a assisted living house in England, but you know, I was like, how can I make that relevant today to this conversation? And I was just thinking about the films that we watched together when we grew up, which was really, I guess, you know, I grew up in the like age of, I remember getting the first like VHS player, you know.
Wow.
So
a good age to grow up in.
yeah, great, you know. So we watched a lot of movies together, and because my brother is the way he is, even as he got older, he tends to, like a bit like a kid does, rewatch things over and over and over and over again, you know, and even just bits of things, you know, obsessively. So, and it's just it was a random mix of films that he chose, and I just wanted to talk about those. Yeah, but before we get into the topic, it's time for our commercial break. And we're back.
So you heard it here. We are going to be talking about Laurence and the movies that he showed Barnaby. I have 30 minutes on the clock and our time starts now.
Okay.
So Barnaby has written up kind of a list on this whiteboard of movies. And also, I'm sorry, is that The Prisoner at the bottom? The Patrick McGowan show?
No, it's not. It's
so I was like...
I put that on because it's something else we watched together. It's a TV show. And that is Prisoner Cell Block H.
Okay, because at first I was like, prisoner, and Patrick McGowan, I had to bring that up.
Which is awesome and amazing. But this, you've probably never heard of.
No, so tell me about it.
But it's really interesting. So somehow we both got into this. And also a lot of my friends got into this, male friends, which is so weird, like young boys watching this. It is a Australian soap opera which started in 79 and went up to 86.
Mm-hmm.
And it's set in a woman's prison. And it's basically like a, it's like a, it's like a
woman's prison. Women. It's basically women in prison genre.
Yeah, yes, it's that.
So,
but it's like
but
kind
not,
of really cheap.
So it's not exploitation?
It's not, but it was just amazing. It's just like, for some reason, but it had all the characters you want from that. It had like the main character who was called B. Smith, and she was like really butch and kind of like you rooted for her. She just wanted to you just got behind her,
Yeah.
And then there was like the wicked warden who I think they all called Vinegar Tits, and and they were all kind of brawny Aussie ladies,
Yeah.
and they there was one episode. I just thought it was kind of like revolutionary in a way, because there was a lot of gay sex on it. There was a lot of I remember the one episode where they did mushrooms, and
so it was like a really progressive show.
it was progressive, yeah, in its weird kind of way, and it was pretty it was very cheap. It was one of these walls wobbling in the sets kind of vibe, but we were so invested. And just imagine. I mean, this is I started watching it when I was quite young, but I was still watching it when we were I don't know, 17 or 18. Just imagine a group of 17-year-old dudes sitting around so excited to watch this weird
Aussie women in prison show.
Yeah, it was so random. But anyway, I used to watch this with Laurence, and it was something that, again, he would get excited by. He just liked, I don't know, a lot of these films that I'm going to select, I don't really know exactly what appealed to him about them. Some of them make a lot more sense
than others.
Yeah, but with that, it's just a combination of just I think it was just really fun, and just seeing that kind of bullies and people standing up for them, and that kind of dynamic. Just he just got behind it like we all did.
So the movies on your list seem to range from 72, I think, to 87. I think that's kind of the latest one.
That's right, yeah.
Were you watching these on VHS with him, or were you kind of watching these when they came out? How old were you?
This is probably from about, I'd say let's say 9 or 10 to I don't know, 17, 18.
So really your formative years of cinema.
Yeah.
So
I was watching lots of other movies
of course,
as well.
but these were the ones that your brother decided to show you.
These are the ones that he was he would, if we would sit to watch a movie together, he would want to watch, and he would want to watch over and over again.
So which one, you said there's some that make more sense than others on this list. Which one does not make any sense to you?
Breaking Away, for example, okay? That's a really interesting one. Peter Yates, 79. Fantastic movie, obviously, I can tell you why I love it, again, it's just you're rooting for these characters. They're underdogs, cutters. I actually bought him a T-shirt recently. I found a T-shirt online which said cutters. And,
oh, really?
Yeah, he was psyched to have that. But I think maybe, again, because of who he was, him being an underdog himself in a way, and an outsider, I think he identified with these kids.
With the outsiders themselves.
Yeah. And I think that message of it, but he was just the easier ones are the ones where they have lots of action or something like that, where he would just kind of get more, he just want to watch the action or the humor or something like that. But with Breaking Away, it just seemed a bit more nuanced, and I'm not really 100% why he was really into it. He must have watched it 100 times or more. Yeah, just obsessively watching these films, and sometimes not the whole film, just the bits he liked, and he likes the bits remember him liking the bits where I feel like, what's he called again?
Actually, I haven't
Dennis.
seen.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
This is one of the ones I haven't
Oh my
seen. I
God.
told Barnaby beforehand, so I looked at this list, and there's a few I have seen, like Man with a Golden
Yeah,
Gun.
yeah.
Everyone knows I love Knick Knack. He likes to watch. It's my favorite Bond henchman. But like Breaking Away, I haven't seen. I've seen. I haven't. Okay, this is so embarrassing for people. I haven't seen Blues Brothers.
You've never seen
I've never
Blues
seen
Brothers?
Blues Brothers. I've
Holy-
never seen Rita Sue
And Bob too.
and Clockwise.
Okay, all
So
right.
those are the ones I haven't seen on
Clockwise, I'd expect, see, because it's such a like. I feel like that was such an like English film. I
Yeah.
don't really know whether it ever really came out here.
Well, now I'm going to have to search these ones down. Like, This is my excuse to watch
yeah.
Blues Brothers finally.
Okay, so let's start with Man with the Golden Gun.
Yeah.
That we obviously watched. In England growing up, we watched every Bond film. It was on TV the
Who's
whole
your favorite
time.
Bond?
Roger Moore.
Oh, that's mine too. Okay,
Yeah,
okay, good. We're safe. We're
again,
good.
I grew up with him. That's the thing. You grow up, you choose. I mean, I could appreciate the sophistication and roughness of like Sean Connery.
Yeah.
The raw sexuality of him, but like. I don't know. There's something about like Roger Moore
comedic.
in a safari suit, like just delivering one of his silly lines, which is just so irresistible. So
So out of all the Bond, though, Man with the Golden Gun was the one you chose.
for some reason he loved that one. I really enjoyed it as well. I mean, obviously it's got Christopher Lee in, so immediately for me that's just amazing. And it's got Hervé.
It's got my man Hervé. I
Yeah.
love Hervé, and I love
It
that.
was incredible, and it's got two great Bond girls. It's got Bridget.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
And also one of the greatest like fights between Bond and like the women henchmen, like in that pool area.
Oh, yeah, yes, of course.
And,
yeah.
Bambi and Thumper.
Bambi and is that no?
Is that them?
No,
Am
that's
I thinking
that's,
Diamonds Are Forever?
Diamonds Are Forever.
Okay, there you go. I always because I also love Diamonds Are
Yeah,
Forever.
I love that one as well.
With
I love those
Crispin's
two
dad.
henchmen.
Yeah, with Crispin's dad, Crispin
Yeah.
Glover's dad.
Oh my
It's
God.
so great.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's one of the.
he's one of-
yes, I know
yeah.
exactly who he is. Oh my God, because he looks like him.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Oh my God, you just blow my mind. Wow, I did not know that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's cool.
So this was the Bond of choice in your house.
It was, and Laurence liked that. He liked. Oh, you know what he really liked? I remember he liked, for some reason, he liked that cop who was in. He was Sheriff J.W. Pepper, and he was like in one of the other ones as
He's
well.
in like 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
kind of carries
he was
out.
in like Live and Let Die as well. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, he like pops up.
I love, and he's in a few of them. It's like he's
Yeah.
one of the reoccurring characters.
Yeah,
When you look
'cause
online, he's one of them.
Laurence really liked him. He thought he was funny. It's got some great stunts and stuff. I think Laurence got some like weird kind of like body kinks, and I
Yeah.
think he liked Scaramanga's third nipple as well.
Yeah.
Somehow that was kind of
Well, that's like to me, it's what elevates Bond.
Yeah.
It's not just like a real life
Yeah.
movie. It's kind of like all the villains and everything had like these like little quirks to them, and they really
Yeah.
stand out.
Yeah,
like with
yeah.
Jaws, like with his big metal jaws and stuff.
In fact, Lawrence loved Jaws as well
Yeah.
because he liked those villains, and they always appealed to him. The bigger, the weirder, the better.
Yeah.
Actually, and there's one other on this list. If we're talking of villains, I'm going to jump down to Stir Crazy.
Oh, Stir Crazy. Oh my God.
Sidney
Good thing my
Poitier.
dad's not in this room because he was already whop, whop. Like when they first go to prison and
Yeah,
Gene Wilder
yeah.
realizes every time Stir Crazy gets brought up, my dad goes crazy for it.
Yes.
I love Stir Crazy.
I love Stir Crazy as well. And Laurence loved Grossberger, that character. He loved him. He loved, how I feel like, he's my brother's like, at a certain point he was like really skinny when he was growing up, when he was a kid, and then he like wanted to get big. Mm-hmm. And I feel like some of that was like
Grossberger?
he wanted to be like Grossberger, which is quite weird, but like he was just and so that he also just adored Richard Pryor, and and
one of the
obviously-
greats.
And the pairing of those two in that is
I
just
think it's one of the greatest comedic pairings of
I
all
think
time, to be honest.
totally 100%.
Because in that weird situation, almost Richard Pryor has to play the straight man in a
Yeah,
lot
I
of the
know,
scenes,
I know.
which is so not Richard
I know,
Pryor.
yeah.
So the fact that Gene Wilder's personality is just so much bigger
I
than you would
know,
expect.
I know. Yeah, I mean, the moment they first get into prison.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just incredible, man. Anyway, so Stir Crazy was like pretty much on repeat for about like 10 years in the house. It was just always on, and like every line I just remember it. I just remember every scene of that. So that was fun. Silent Running.
I haven't seen that in forever.
I've not seen it for a long time.
My dad showed that to me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I remember the poster, and like that's it.
Yeah, I just remember like I have a very like warm, fond memory of it. It's just like one of the. Although I kind of also remember there's like this sadness in it as well.
Yeah.
It's like
that's what I remember. I remember it's kind of melancholy.
It is, yeah. It's this kind of like disillusionment with kind of with authority and with, it's very much it's, what is it, 72, so it's just coming off the back of the 60s, and that it was definitely like in that period of film which was really reflecting this like, oh shit, like things aren't so beautiful. I'm not just like planting my beautiful garden and that's it, but again, Laurence, he got really obsessed by the robots, Huey and Dewey.
Wow.
And it's so funny because you see it now and it's kind of like, I don't know, it's a bit like Dark Star or something, where you see it and you're like, it's like so basic.
Well, there's a lot of like the kind of like science fiction of that time is like that. Like when I rewatched Logan's Run recently, it's like, oh my God, the set design's beautiful and everything is so beautiful in it. But then you just see like a little train going by, and it's just like a little like cardboard train, and it's awesome, but it is very simple. Like, and Dark Star is like that, and so is Silent Running.
Yeah, but there was something in the robots which just felt like, even though you can see it's like two people in a suit, like sort of stumbling around in their funny walk, making weird noises, they were really lovable. And I mean, obviously, like, that's so much to do with Bruce Dern and his performance and how he interacts with them, but yeah, that was, again, it was just like maybe that was one as well that I was a little confused why it was so appealing to Laurence.
It might have been the robots, though. He seems like he likes, from what I've heard so far, likes characters, likes unique, likes kind of quirky, like something that stands out.
Yeah, and I think he, honestly, he didn't have a lot of friends growing up. He still doesn't have a lot of friends, like close friends, and it's a hard thing for him to have. And I think there was a part of him which there still is a part of him who liked the idea of this companionship through robots. I remember him. I remember my mum coming back from my family. I had some family here in the States, and she used to come visit them. And one day she came back from visiting my aunt in New York, and she had what she said was a robot, and we were like really excited. And it was not a robot. It was basically a kind of remote control, like car or something, base, with an inflatable robot on top of it.
She tried her best.
Yeah, but he was like so excited at this idea, this robot in the house, so I think that was something which actually was
which really drew to him.
Yeah, so
and Christine too kind of has that technological aspect to it.
Yeah, Christine. So again, this is like the underdog kid being picked on, got no friends at school. Laurence always going on about this character Cunningham, which is his name in it, and just it's the idea, because he's still, my brother still talks about like the bullies in his school,
Wow.
And they weren't that bad or anything like that, but it's just like they're just fixated, these kind of like bogeymen in his mind, that he's sort of fixated on them still. And I think this idea, the story of like a kid who is picked on and has a terrible time at school, and then suddenly gets this car who goes out and just kills off all the bullies.
And not only that, but it's also like it's like a loving relationship that he
Yeah.
has with his car. Even if it's like an obsessive relationship, it's still one that like can't really be broken.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I can see how powerful that would be, especially if it's like going to go and kill all those bad people that are terrible to you.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't really mind that sometimes.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And I think also it was just, there was an element in that of, like I just mentioned, my aunt, he was very close to my aunt who lived in Coney Island, and he used to go out and stay with her every year. And he was just a big, just lover of America and all things American. And so I think the car, this like
very
awesome
American car.
like Cadillac
Red.
Thunderbird, it was just beautiful car that it's again this kind of he loved that as well. So that was then
That's my dad's favorite movie, by the way, Clockwork Orange.
Oh, really?
Of all time. It's my dad's favorite movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty high up there for me, I've got to
Yeah.
say. I just watched it again last Christmas. Last Christmas Day.
Wow.
I had COVID, and my family deserted me because I had COVID, and it was all looking kind of disastrous. But then I realized I was just like, oh yeah, I can just sit and watch whatever I want to watch.
So you watch Clockwork Orange.
So I watched Clockwork Orange, which is a really like un-Christmas Day movie, but it was perfect, and I enjoyed it so much. But yeah, that's a weird one because I think like I that was obviously I think a little later we watched that because I was maybe too young to watch it when I was 10
I was going to say, it might
something.
be the most violent movie on the list.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've argued this so many times when I talk about A Clockwork Orange, but it's an anti-violence movie.
Oh, it is?
100%.
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
my favorite movie is Bugsy Malone.
Oh,
and my
wow,
dad's
yeah,
is Clockwork
okay.
Orange, and they're both anti-violence
Yeah.
films. And I always tell people misunderstand A Clockwork Orange for being a super violent, like
Yeah.
condoning violence. No, it's
No,
an anti-violent movie.
100%.
But it is the most violent film on this
Oh,
list.
it is. It's definitely violence in there. Interesting you bring up Bugsy Malone because, like, I had a weird relationship with that when I was a kid. Yeah. I was a pretty, like extreme empath as a child. Very empathetic and big, overwhelming imagination. And I used to get really like concerned by certain things that happen to people in films, but also in real life. Like, for example, when I was at school, I think I was about 4 or 5. After the spring break, we came back to school, and one of the kids had gone skiing and broken his arm, and they put his arm in a cast. And I just felt terrible for this kid and did not want to go, and I just felt so bad. I felt like it was just like
you could feel it yourself.
Yeah. I didn't really understand. I was just like that it was something there to fix his arm, but it would just look so awful. And anyway, so I didn't go to school for about like, I don't know. I just refused to go to school. This poor guy. Anyway, Bugsy Malone has this moment where he's obviously the pie guns, right?
When they're testing the gun and it hits Knuckles.
Yeah, and it's like all over him, and it kind
God.
of covers in him. And for some reason, this just gave me this weird, irrational fear, and it terrified me.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's so odd.
But that's a great reading because it's my favorite movie, so I like watch it like every birthday. Like I have the Laserdisc of it, and I've never heard someone say that they were like terrified by a moment in it. No, but it's really kind of important in a weird way.
Yeah.
I've never even because that moment with Knuckles when Knuckles gets splurged is really sad. Like when he's like crying over him.
Yeah,
so
I just thought, he's like mummified in there, like this can't breathe. This poor kid.
Wow.
Also, just found it really weird actually watching that movie growing up.
Well, it is really weird. I mean, like she's playing a prostitute.
Yeah,
and she
I
plays
know.
a prostitute twice that year because Taxi Driver.
Taxi Driver, yeah,
And like
exactly.
there are children with babies in the movie, like calling out from them. It's a very strange movie.
It is brilliant, but like, it's hard to get your head around at that age. So Clockwork Orange was like something we watched together a lot. I was like fully invested in that as well, obviously, like I just said. And I think what appealed to him was there's some like some random stuff that he liked. Like he really liked. He liked the scene with the cat lady, you know, and it's a really like vicious scene, obviously, but he just something just like it's kind of like perverse about this, like him. Alex like picking up this penis sculpture and like ramming
it's very
it.
Ken Russell.
It's super Ken Russell. Yeah, absolutely. And but you know, it's also the combination of the humor in it as well. That's the thing. You it's there throughout the movie. That's what makes it bearable as a movie. It's funny. It's funny. It's like the script is witty and. Malcolm McDowell is just absolutely like brilliant the way he delivers everything, and also as are all the other characters, you know, who come in there and pass through it. So, and the other thing was, I do remember growing up, we had in my parents' record collection, we had the Clockwork Orange soundtrack as well, which is still to me like. One of the greatest soundtracks.
Did he listen to that soundtrack also over and over?
It was just there in our house, and I think we heard it, and it's unusual. I'm not really sure why they had it, because I don't think they like Clockwork Orange at all, but like, I mean, my mum was showing me, like, she's like into like poetry, and she's showing me like Les Enfants du Paradis is her favorite film, you know, like she hasn't seen my film The Seeding, and she would never see it because she wouldn't get through the first 2 minutes of it. But anyway, we did enjoy the Clockwork Orange a lot, and in all its kind of twisted fun. Also, I think the other thing he really responded to is like, even though it's in this like weird future world, it's very English, you know.
Yeah, it is.
It's like it's got like Kubrick always like brought in these like crazy like Leonard Rossiter, these like very weird, funny English character actors, and which just added this extra layer to them, which was just fantastic. Moving on to the Blues Brothers, John Landis, 1980. Bit more obvious for him. He just was like obsessed by the car chases.
The cars again, and also like the buddy aspect of it.
Yeah,
maybe?
the buddy aspect, but I think it was just the mass destruction. Because there is no car chase which has as much
destruction,
ridiculous, over-the-top destruction, and it is so absurd. And then he liked, you know, the stuff with the kind of the neo-Nazis, like all getting like pushed off the bridge, and
don't we all like that though?
Oh yes, we do. Yes, of course we do. Yeah. Yeah, and also of course the music. It's just like it was so fun, but I think it was the more than anything the kind of like cartoon levels of I mean just like the end of it. You know, when they eventually reached Steven Spielberg, who's the what is he, like the tax collector or something, and just, you know, the car just like falls apart at the end, you know, that classic moment. But okay,
so Cuckoo's Nest, that's not One Flew
that
Over.
is
Okay, it is One Flew Over the
yes,
Cuckoo's Nest. Okay,
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, 1975, Milos Forman. So
I love Brad Dourif, by the way.
I
have to, every time it's brought
course.
up, I have to say my other crush, Brad Dourif.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, God, what a like supporting cast as well. I mean, you know, everybody goes on about Jack Nicholson, Louise Fletcher.
I'm a huge Star Trek fan. So Kai Wynn from DS9, Louise Fletcher, and then of course Brad Dourif as Suitor in Voyager for his one episode arc. I'm obsessed.
Yeah, but then there's like Danny DeVito.
Just random Danny DeVito.
Like Michael Berryman, who went on to do like The Hills Have Eyes, and like and that other guy, I always forget his name. He was like in Ghost, and also one of my favorite films, Taking Off. I don't really know Taking Off. Also Milos Forman.
Okay.
Oh, it's Milos Forman's first film in America.
Taking Off. Okay, now I have to add this to my
You have
list.
to see that.
Okay.
It's one of the most underseen, brilliantly funny comedies to come out of America in that period. It is amazing. It's like very funny. Anyway, Cuckoo's Nest. Honestly, I think it was just like the combination of seeing Laurence, when he was growing up, he moved through different schools. Some schools were regular schools where he'd be put in maybe a special class or something, and some schools were more for kids with special needs. And I think a part of his kind of coping with who he is and the problems that he's had, he liked to kind of like, for want of a better way of putting it, kind of like laugh at people who had worse problems than him.
As a way of coping, yeah.
Yeah. And, and I'm always telling him.
Or even relating, not even just coping.
Relating, but sometimes it is laughing at them,
Yeah.
It is. And I tell him, I'm like, you shouldn't judge these people just because you feel like they are worse off than you, but like, that's his thing. That's, his prerogative. But but again, it's very funny. It has some like crazy people doing crazy stuff.
Oh yeah.
And also, Jack Nicholson just being,
Nicholson.
he's the supposedly the sane one in there, but he's like, and he loved this idea of like when he like takes them out for the day and takes them on the boat, and like, it's just such a beautiful scene for one. And I think I could see Laurence and some of his
compatriots,
being in that situation and being this ragtag gang of weirdos, but like having a lot of fun. And I think he liked that aspect to it, and he also really liked, again, talking about the kind of bogeymen. He really responded to Louise Fletcher and her like there. Because Laurence used to talk about the wicked dairy lady at school. He had some woman.
Well, there's Louise Fletcher, the wicked dairy lady.
Exactly,
who she kind of is in that movie.
He saw that, and he was just like, of course, it's got like the most bittersweet, sad ending, but it's bittersweet.
Again, melancholy, kind of like breaking away. It's like there is a little bit of, Silent Running is the melancholy one. It's kind of a little bit of that going through that.
That 70s period, they were into that, Then we move on to Stir Crazy, which we kind of done.
But what about Rita, Sue, and Bob 2? Because I have never seen this movie. Okay. I've actually never even heard of this movie.
Do you know who Alan Clark is?
Yes.
Okay, so he was like, he's very influential. I mean, like, I think like Harmony Korine and Gus Van Sant all were pretty obsessed by him. He is a British filmmaker from the 80s who did a lot of very like tough, kind of gritty street movies, like urban movies. He also, and he also famously, he really kind of pushed Steadicam to an extreme as well. There's one movie which is called Elephant, which was actually obviously where Gus Van Sant got Elephant from. And it's all about the IRA, and it just follows essentially a IRA hitman, and it follows one after the other, but it's kind of silent. It's like, I think it's like, you can find it online. It's because it's a short film. It's like, maybe like, I can't remember, half an hour or 40 minutes. Oh, wow, okay, yeah. But his films are just intense, and they are... they are gritty. They are intense. Scum. Do you know Scum?
Yes. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Now I know where we are.
Yeah. I'm the fucking daddy. You know.
I know exactly where we are now.
Yeah. So
maybe Clockwork Orange and Rita, Sue, and Bob 2 kind of go together.
No, they don't, because the thing is like Rita, Sue, and Bob 2 is a comedy. Right?
Oh, okay.
He went and he made this kind of like Mike Lee style, I guess. I mean, it's really his style, but it is, I guess, akin to like the more like comedic Mike Lee movies. It's very British. It's set in a
where is it set though?
It's set in a housing estate in the north of England, and it is just follows like, it's pretty un-PC now, but it's like, it follows like a teacher who's probably like in his maybe like late 30s, like 40, like having a fling with two girls who are like in their late teens, basically. Two girls together.
Okay. Not apart.
But not apart. And I mean, literally like jumping in the car. One has a go, jump out the car, the other goes in. But it's very funny. It's very British, and it's very. It's also like, it's just brilliantly well made. Yeah.
I know the timer went off, but you only have one movie left on the list. And we brought up Clockwise, and that was like you said that's the one movie you probably haven't heard of. So I have to ask about Clockwise before we wrap up.
Well, it's again, really British movie. Laurence was the other thing we watched on the TV front, like endlessly, which like every kid in England at this time was Fawlty Towers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love Fawlty Towers.
Yeah,
Oh, I had my drama teacher showed me Fawlty Towers.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's classic, and it's brilliant comedy, and John Cleese at his finest,
Mm-hmm.
And so this is John Cleese.
Okay.
And it's directed by Christopher Morahan. It's from 1986, and I don't know this director. I don't really know I don't really know much of the other casts in it, but it's a John Cleese movie, and it is John Cleese just doing. It's one of those films where it's basically I think he's a principal of a school, and he's called to give a lecture somewhere else, and he has to get there, and it's one of these things where like everything goes wrong, and he has to get, and he's just like. And he's obsessed by time. That's why it's called Clockwise. And they're always like the clock is ticking down, and he's got to get there, and everything goes wrong. And, it's just watching John Cleese just like tripping up, falling over, like sweating.
So John Cleese at his best.
Yeah, just doing what he does best, like, beating his car with a branch or whatever it is, on the side of a road, like classic. So again, very British movie, but like something that from that period was just, I think people really responded to it, and certainly Laurence did.
And that is all the time that we have for today. But Barnaby, is there any final thought that you would like to share with the audience?
Oh, final thoughts. Wow. Okay. Well, it's been really interesting talking about this, I should say, because, like, I talk about film a lot to people, and I talk about my brother a lot to people as well, but it's very rare that the two intersect. And so that's been really interesting. What else would I like to do? No, I don't know.
You're like Larry. You're like, I'm done.
Yeah, exactly. No, I just it's been super fun, and should I talk about my film? Or?
Yeah, you can if you'd like to.
Okay, all right.
Bring up the seating, which I had a chance to watch, by the way.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. Very Woman in the Dunes-esque.
It is.
I'm going to throw that in there.
Yes.
I haven't actually seen the movie. I read the book, though.
Oh, you did? Okay, great. It's a fantastic book.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Kobayabe, who wrote the book, and the film, which is amazing. And certainly the seed of the idea did come from that. Just like the idea of, I was like searching for, when I was writing it, I was searching for I just wanted an idea which was contained. And obviously there's just like such a fantastic, concept to keep somebody in one place.
Yeah.
I needed something like that because I knew I wasn't going to have much money, and I wanted to retain some level of control when I did it. And so that was certainly my starting point, was Woman of the Dunes. Absolutely 100%. But at the same time, I love that movie. Mm-hmm. I think it's kind of almost like a perfect movie, and I would never want to like remake it.
Yeah, just take inspiration from.
Draw inspiration, and I do believe like where I took it to is a very different place.
Oh, it's completely different. Yes.
It just kind of like I just handily borrowed the setup. Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, it's coming out this week on Friday.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Which is very excited.
And also, I think on Instagram you had a Polaroid up that said that you shot from October 18th to November 6th, 2021. Is that okay? I just want to like reiterate for the audience. That's like about a 3-week shoot.
Yeah.
People don't realize how difficult a 3-week shoot is. I've been on 7-week shoots that like literally I thought I was going to die while I was on them. That's a monumental task. If you talk to directors, like when I talked to Joe Lynch, Eli Roth, my dad, and you talk about how difficult it is to shoot something in such a short amount of time with so little money. It is amazing. The quality of your movie for the budget and the shoot, I was shocked that it was a 3-week shoot, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think it was over the moon fantastic for a 3-week shoot.
Thank you.
I was so surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it was like
You're at
impossible nightmare hell that I went through. And, I do look at it in those terms sometimes. In my darkest moments, I look at it and I'm just like, wow, for considering,
Oh, definitely consider.
I'm
And also
just
children outdoors.
stunts, like all sorts of stuff. I mean, and that's the funny thing is like I'm writing this story and I'm like, yeah, this is great. It's contained. I've got like essentially 2 main characters. I'm in this one spot. I'm not going to be moving around too much. And then you're suddenly standing there and you're like in a canyon in Utah, like thousands of miles away from anywhere and any help. And you're like rigging a bunch of like young children to trees up on a ridge and having to build a road just to get to your location. You're like, oh my God, okay, this is not so easy.
That's when you know you're making a movie. Is
Yeah.
when you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, I did it was funny. I did the night before, I was staying in this motel, and the night before the first day of shoot, I just wanted to watch something to get myself, set in the mindset. And I'm not sure whether I chose the best thing. I was like just, I guess, surfing through Criterion Channel, and there was some random German featurette from like the, I think, early 80s on Herzog. It's an interview interview with him for like German TV or something like that. And
oh wow, you chose to watch a Herzog interview.
and I watched that, and it was great. And I was just like, yeah, this is perfect, And then I guess like 3 days later, I was just thinking, oh yeah, that really set the tone.
Yeah, it's like him eating his shoe.
Yeah, I'm like, why don't I just choose something which kind of like would give me some vibes, easy vibes, the nice, yeah. So anyway, but
well, thank you, Barnaby, for coming on the show. If you'd like to keep up with Barnaby, you can do so on Instagram at Out of the Ether. And be sure to check out his new movie, The Seeding, which will be both streaming and in select theaters starting January 26th in the United States and Canada. And of course, for my UK listeners, the film is set to digitally drop on February 12th.
perfect.
I'm Gala Avery, and this has been The Gala Show.